belong there. So we would go from West Virginia to Virginia and spend a month there. Now, we were tourists when we went to go to Williamsburg and Jamestown and all those touristy places. But my father, belonging there, always kind of looked down at all the hordes of tourists blocking the road and, getting in the way and being slow and like that. He would always yell, "Tourists!" And because he belonged there, we were tourists too, but it didn't really matter. Years later, I worked for an ad agency, and one of our clients was the Travel Channel. We came up with this slogan, "Don't be a tourist, be a traveler." In other words, go all in, go for it, live it, get into it. Not just an observer from a safe distance. Jesus was a traveler, and he calls us to be travelers with him. Luke says, when the days drew near for Jesus to be taken up, Jesus set his face toward Jerusalem. And here in Luke 9, his journey, his travels from Galilee and the ministry that he'd been having in that area to Jerusalem begins, and it will unfold over the next 10 chapters in Luke. Jesus was now focused on his goal. He was determined to fulfill his destiny. He's on a mission for God. And there's an urgent tone here in Luke. Time is of the essence. Not only to travel to Jerusalem and what awaits him there, but beyond that, after he is taken up in death, in resurrection, and in the ascension, as his followers then spread the gospel, the good news of Jesus, beyond Jerusalem to Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. All that starts now. This is where it starts, but Jesus had to go through Jerusalem to get to the cross and for all that to happen. Now, twice here, Luke says that Jesus sets his face to go to Jerusalem. That's the literal Greek. It's based on a Hebrew expression that suggests a fixedness of purpose. So it's pretty clear. He's determined. You know people like that. People who are determined to do whatever it is they're doing. You just have to get out of their way. Last weekend, I was at a long-planned trip to Charlotte to a comic book convention. And I go to this most every year. It's a wonderful convention in Charlotte. Basically to be with a bunch of friends that I've known for years. And we just hang out and have a good time. Also maybe go to a panel discussion where some of my beloved creators, the artists and the writers, will talk about, the good old days of comics and all like that. But there are some comic book people who go to these conventions and they have pages of lists of specific comic books that they are looking for, and they go from dealer to dealer on the floor, and they are on a mission to complete their collection, and you better get out of their way. That's not what that mission is not all that important, but it is to them. Jesus' mission affects the whole world. So Jesus and his disciples enter this Samaritan village on the way, and the people there reject him. And it's probably because they knew he was determined to go on to Jerusalem, which is the capital of the Jewish world, and they were Samaritans. There was a great antipathy between those two groups, great animosity. The Samaritans were racially despised by the Jews. Elsewhere in Luke, like in the next chapter, we'll hear the story of the Good Samaritan. So sometimes Jesus uses these hated people as examples of good people, good guys. And that would have shocked Jesus' hearers, but not here. And here, good old James and John, they always seem to say and do the wrong things, are upset about their treatment in this Samaritan village. There's a little bigotry, a little racism there. But theirs is a response that we hear a lot these days. Wherever we look, in our political landscape, in Orlando, in the Middle East, in the European Union, or Great Britain, Even in our lane on the freeway when someone cuts us off, Lord, do you want us to command fire down from heaven and consume them, right? We hear that. They're angry at their situation, and they act as if they can do something about it. They want to call down God's judgment on those who are different, who are enemies. And here's the one place in this passage where it seems that Jesus turns his face from Jerusalem back toward them and says he turned and rebuked them. Doesn't say what he said, probably a good thing. But it's pretty clear. There is no fire from heaven to call down on our enemies. There's only love that burns away the fear and the anger. The way of the cross is to love our enemies, those who are different, and pray for those who persecute us. So they simply move on. Jesus' face is again set for Jerusalem. And then 3 people come down the road. And Luke is making a point here. All 3 have really good reasons to wait to follow Jesus, to join his mission. They have important things to take care of. One says, I will follow you wherever you go. But when Jesus explains that he has no place to lay his head, no home, he has nothing, that he's all about the mission, that it's all about getting to Jerusalem and giving up his life, well, we don't hear any more from this person. We don't know what this person decided. Another, he invites, follow me. And that person says, I would love to, but I first have to bury my father. Now, we don't even know if the father is dead yet. It could be a while. Jesus is telling him to forget that. Go and proclaim the kingdom of God. Time is of the essence. It's now or never. And then a third person claims that he will follow Jesus, but he just wants to first go say goodbye to his family. Jesus responds, no one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. And he is the prime example of one who is not looking back. But this sounds so harsh, doesn't it? Come on, Jesus. You expect us to give up our homes? Walk away from a dead or dying father? Leave our family? Just to follow you? To help fulfill your mission? Is it that important? Must be. Now, interestingly, Luke doesn't say, in all these 3 cases, what they did. You get the feeling they were like, okay, that's too much. But maybe they did follow. We have to make our own determination as how we're going to answer those same invitations. Jesus knows that we can come up with excuse after excuse to resist his call to live out our faith, to go and proclaim the kingdom of God. And he's making it clear to us. His priority is his mission, and he calls us to join him in it. Elisha got it. If you heard that story in 2 Kings chapter 2, his dedication and determination are a little overwhelming in this book. It's a sweet passage. There's a lot of love and grief there. As Elijah knows his time is coming to an end, and Elisha is determined to follow him and serve him. Twice Elijah tells him, stay here, I'm going to go on, and Elisha refuses to stay. He's going to stay with him. And he tells him that twice. He has set his face on his mission, his God-given mission. And he requests a double share of Elijah's prophetic power. He wants it all. He too is consumed by doing the will of God. He's all in for the mission. Jesus says, no one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. A farmer explained it this way. When I start plowing a row in my field, I look at an object in the distance and I keep my eye on it and I keep going for that. I don't look back. And so when I get to the end of that row, I know it's going to be straight. In other words, figure out where you're heading, keep your eye on it. Stay focused on it. The thing about Jesus, though, is that he doesn't stand still. He isn't a tree or a fence post that doesn't move. That means at the end of your life, If you keep your eyes on Jesus and follow him, you won't see a straight line behind you. I know that's true in my case. If I look back, I see all kinds of curves. But it got me to where I am today. We must stay focused on Jesus. Every time we look back at what we've left behind, the distractions that egg us on to give up and turn back, we risk losing sight of the one we are following and of the mission that we've been given. This is a call to discipleship. To be a disciple of Jesus means nothing less than to devote our whole life to following and learning from our Master. To be a traveler with him, not just a tourist from a safe distance. But Jesus is a tricky one to follow sometimes. He moves fast. He surprises us. He goes to places that we don't expect. We will encounter pain and difficulty along the way, just as he did. And that's all the more reason to keep our eyes on the prize, keep moving forward and following him, trusting him to lead the way. So let's keep our hand on the plow. Let's keep moving forward. Eyes on Jesus, no matter what, no matter where he leads us. By doing so, we trust that our God is truly the Lord of the harvest, a harvest that we know is and always will be abundant. Let's set our face toward Jesus. Let's be travelers, not tourists. Amen.
Amen.